Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
And where are you come from?
I'm from Australia.
Australia? Okay, and what part do you live in?
I come from of Australia on the eastern side,
Oh,
a city called the Gold Coast.
oh,
It's about halfway up Australia.
okay.
Yeah.
And how is your country divided?
How is it divided?
Yeah.
There are 6 states.
Mm,
So not like China, which has many states,
Yeah.
many provinces. Australia has 6.
mm,
I'm from the state called Queensland, which is in the northeast. Yeah. Below that is a state called New South Wales. Then there's a state called Victoria. Then there's an island down the bottom called Tasmania. Then there's South Australia. Northern Territory is at the top. Then there's a very big one
Okay.
called Western Australia.
So you always will see the sea.
Yes, I live on the. Most people in Australia live on the coast near the water.
And what's your country's special food?
Special food. Well, there's a food called Vegemite. It's like jam. You know jam that you put on bread?
Oh, yeah.
It's like jam. It's black.
Oh, black.
Black, like the color of your bag. It's black.
Yeah.
It's very salty.
Oh.
Yeah. I love it. My wife is American. She hates it.
Okay.
But all Australians love Vegemite.
Oh. And how's the weather this time of year?
Well, this time of year, Australia's in the southern hemisphere, which means it's spring.
Okay.
So the weather is warm, but sunny, and usually very nice. Lots of blue sky.
Oh.
It's a nice time of year.
So do you think that's very cold in the winter?
In Australia, in my hometown, no, it's not very cold.
Oh.
My hometown only gets a little cold in winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the popular tourist attractions?
On the Gold Coast, the beaches are very popular for tourism. So people like to go and see the beautiful beaches. There's, on the Gold Coast, there's a lot of theme parks. These are where you go on a roller coaster, like Disneyland. I think there are 3 theme parks on the Gold Coast. Also, on the Gold Coast, there is what's called the hinterland. It's away from the beach, but there are some small mountains, and it's very green. Lots of trees. You can see kangaroos, koalas. Yeah.
Okay, and could you please tell me something history about your country?
Something about the history of Australia. It's a very young country.
Oh.
The first English people to go to Australia landed in 1788. 1788. There's an Englishman named called James Cook, or Captain Cook, and he took his boat and he went from England all the way down to Australia. Yeah. Many of the first people to go to Australia from England were actually criminals, like people who had committed a crime. In England, it was a punishment. If you did something wrong, if you stole something or took something or something like that, the police would catch you, and the judge would say, you have to go to Australia. And they would send you all the way down from England to Australia. And you'd have to work very hard. Yeah.
And when will you leave your country?
When did I leave Australia? Well, I left Australia in 2007. So it's about almost 10 years ago. Yeah. I go back and visit often, but I've lived out of Australia since 2007.
And what do you think about your country?
I love my country. I think most people do. What I love about Australia, it's a very big country, but doesn't have many people. So it's very, there's lots of space. Yeah, it's not very crowded. So you can go for long drives. If you have a car, you can drive for a long time. Yeah, and there's not many cars.
Oh,
It's very nice.
I want to travel. And what's the difference between 30 years ago
Hmm.
and now?
Difference between 30 years ago and now. The 30 years ago, what would that be? The 1980s.
Yeah.
So 30 years ago would have been 86.
Yeah.
1986. In 1986, I was a teenager.
Oh,
Yeah, I was probably 86, 14, 15. So 30 years ago, my hometown was quieter. There were fewer people, and my town has changed a lot in 30 years. It's much busier now. Many more people, many more cars.
oh
Yeah, I like my town more, I think, 30 years ago.
yeah. How old are you?
How old am I? I'm 43.
Oh, I think you are 30.
No,
When we first met.
no, 43.
Okay. And
Thank you.
what's the famous things in your country?
The famous things in Australia.
Yeah.
Do you know the Sydney Opera House? It's a special building
Oh.
that looks like it's got all these like this interesting shapes.
Oh.
It's a famous building
Oh,
in Sydney, which is the
yeah.
biggest city in Australia.
Oh.
And there's a famous bridge called the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It's a big bridge in Sydney. Also, there's a big rock, you know, like you pick up off the ground.
Oh.
But this one's as big as a mountain.
Oh.
It's called Uluru. Uluru. That's the Australian Aboriginal word for it. And it's red,
Oh.
very big and red, and it's kind of special, very, very interesting to see. I haven't seen it, but I want to.
Yeah. Okay. And are there have famous stars?
Famous,
Star.
like celebrities.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Star. Right. Very famous people.
Famous-
Yeah,
Famous people, sure. Do you know the Avengers?
Avengers.
The superheroes? Iron Man, the Hulk.
Maybe I don't know.
It's many boys like it. The Avengers, it's like superheroes, like a comic book.
Oh.
Yeah. There's one called Thor. He's like a big muscly man. He's Australian. Yeah. Do you know Wolverine? The guy with the big claws.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That actor. His
Oh,
name's Hugh Jackman.
okay.
He's Australian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.